this is Jeff Hooded Wanderer coming to you from, well, my office. Today I'm going to be talking about the different Norse gods and goddesses from Northern Europe. This is going to be our first free class online that you can access through our YouTube page, either through Modern American Shamanism or Hole as well. Now remember, Modern American Shamanism, that focuses mainly on Scandinavian and Icelandic gods and goddesses and traditions. Okay, plus it also has our shamanism or our Flokingi, I can't pronounce Old Norse, sorry. It's basically shamanism classes. And then Hole as well focuses mostly on traditional German, not Germanic, just German gods, goddesses, and traditions. There's a difference. So you can explore our paid classes later on as they come up later this year. Hope you enjoy this class today. It is my first one, so please remember that, and it is free. The information from this class will be coming from my book, Discovering the Northern European Gods and Goddesses. Now, this book also has a lot of information on those German gods and goddesses that either have their names pronounced differently or simply do not exist in the Scandinavian or Icelandic culture. So, a lot of good information in there, a lot more information than we're going to cover in this video. Okay. All right. So, we're going to start with the goddess Frigg, and I'm going to try and have pictures of the god or goddess where we can get them. A lot of the more obscure German ones in particular don't have pictures because they didn't have statues made or artwork specific to them made. So you just have to use your imagination. So, the goddess Frigg, or Frigga, depending on how you pronounce it, or actually fried in German. There's actually saying if you're feeling fried, try fried. I guess it's a Pennsylvania German joke. So, but Frigga is the goddess of home, hearth, and scyther. She does a lot of the spinning that's used to make the fabric of weird. And she also does other types of magic. She's got a falcon cloak, which she can shape shift. Unlike Freya, she doesn't lend it out. So, she's strictly about the goddess of hearth and home. Okay, we must remember, though, that the domestic chores bring a certain stability to the health of a home. This is why the women, the mother, the goddess Frigg were so important. You never want to underestimate the need for a secure place to safely rest your head at night, okay? The goddess Frigg is the personification of that specific security, okay? She personified the safety and sanctuary of your home. Okay, Frigg is the main goddess of the Aesir in Scandinavian and German traditions. Mythology, and is said to be second to no one apart from the Vanir goddess Freya. Some people say they're the same goddess, they just got kind of separated. They do appear as two different goddesses in the Lokasina. I don't know. I've never really dug into that. I've never read research papers. Not a lot of college professors, I guess, care if the goddess Frigg and the goddess Freya are the same person or two different people. So I just haven't found any valuable information on that. So I'm just going to leave them as two individual goddesses for now. Frigg's name means beloved, to love, wife, and the beloved lady. Okay, now Freya, his name translates as lady. And so if they are the same person, that would mean that Frigga is Odin's lady love, but that's just me talking. I don't know. Her hall in Asgard is called Fensalir, meaning marshlands, which means her home is thought to be in the swamps or marshy areas. Frigg is described as a goddess associated with foreknowledge and wisdom. This goes back to the Scyther. Sorry, no coffee. It's not coffee with the heathen. It's Northern European gods and goddesses. So she's able to spin the distaff and gather visions of the future to see different things. Also, what's the name of the constellation? Orion. Orion's belt in Northern Europe used to be known as Frigg's distaff, specifically the three stars in the belt. Yes, before everything became streamlined by Christianity, every culture had different names for the constellations. The goddess Frigg was the protection of home and families. She gives solace and aid to children and is also called upon for help in the domestic arts and cottage industries, especially the spinning of wool. When we say cottage industries, it's not crocheting or knitting. The making of fabric is what held Northern Europe together. It could take a village full of women. Now we say village. It's now we're not talking city or even a modern small town. You may be talking 30 to 60 people. So it's a little much smaller than we like to imagine today. So, but it would take all the adult women in a village 6 months to make a sail for a single boat. So it's very important because without the sails, they couldn't get too far from shore. They were very slow getting back in case of storms. And so the ability to make solid, strong sails actually allowed them to fish and trade and raid and do other things. So just the fact of making sails was very important. That's part of the domestic arts or cottage industries. Also, making of clothes because most of their clothes, 98% of them were woven, and you couldn't just go to Walmart. So you had to make the fabric to make the clothes that you wore, and you had to do this. Took a back seat to making sails for the ships for your jarl or king, depending on who you directly answered to. So that's important to know, along with herbal remedies and herbal healing. Not everybody had a doctor, and so it was up to the wife to heal the children and the husband and keep everybody healthy. So let's make a 180-degree jump and go from the goddess Frigg to the goddess Hel. She is not evil and she does not torture people. Hel, He1L, literally translates as covered with dirt. So that's why in the Northern European traditions they say everyone goes to hell because whether you were cremated or just buried, everyone was, well, buried, whether it was your ashes or your body. And so everybody was covered with dirt, so everybody went to hell. Uh, the goddess Hel is the goddess of the underworld, and it just means concealed, hide, or hidden beneath the dirt. Hell is both the name of the goddess and the realm of the dead that she presides over. Her name and the name of her realm mean hidden, as I've just said like 3 times. Um, it is the realm where those who have died of illness and old age are admitted. The drowned all go to the goddess Ran. So, and her 9 daughters collect the drowned in nets and take them down to the Gigur's Rand's giantess realm under the seas and ocean. What happens after one dies and goes to hell? The dead tend to go about their normal life. They eat, they drink, they carouse, fight, sleep, even practice all forms of magic, and still on occasion uh, help their family members. Okay, so this is done through bloats and offerings to your ancestors. This is why say that the Northern European traditions are heavily ancestor based. We don't always call to the gods. That is a modern concept. Nothing wrong if you do that because it's 21st century. But it's traditionally an ancestor based tradition. So we ask our ancestors for help. Number one reason is because they are directly tied to us through weird and bloodline, and they have the best and most invested interest in seeing you do well to keep their family line healthy, strong, and growing on into the future. Whereas the gods and goddesses might not always have time to help you win the lottery. So you might want to keep that in mind. Make your ancestor altar, make it nice, and make offerings once a month. Now a specific German goddess, Frau Holle, or Holda, or Hulda. She's the ruler of the underworld in the German tradition. That's right, there is no goddess Hel in the German tradition because there's no Loki. And so there's no Fenrir, and there's no Jormungandr. And think about this for a minute. Without a Loki, without a Fenrir, What does Ragnarok look like? It's a good mind exercise. Getting back to Frau Holle, she's the ruler of the underworld and provides health to the flocks and fertility to women. All right, let me restate that. I lost it because I got sidetracked on my thing there. Holle is the ruler of the underworld, and she provides health to the flocks and fertility to and flocks and she just provides health and fertility to women and the flocks they tend. How about that? uh, don't know why I couldn't say that. She is seen as a compassionate goddess who also demands order in the home. So she is another hearth goddess. Her appearance promises health to the flocks and fertility to the women. She, much better that time, she guides the cycles of life, death, and rebirth in all areas of existence. She oversees that cycle in humans as well as in the earth itself. So, in the German tradition, Frau Holle actually starts the wild hunt. So she leads the wild hunt in the first part of the dark part of the year, dark half of the year, and then Odin takes it over as she takes the souls she's gathered down to the underworld to the mill to be separated into their individual parts and to be recycled into new souls. Um, oh, I just said all that and getting off track. I need Crowspear here with me to keep me steady here. Her portion of the wild hunt sows abundance along its way. She returns from the wild hunt around April 30th, and which is the German holiday Walpurgisnacht. It's the night of joy uh, around May Day, when the maypole dance and all that. I forget what it is in Southern European paganism. In the German heathen tradition, there is no Loki by default, and Goddess Holle takes the souls of the dead and runs them through her mill, where the souls are broken down into their 8 individual parts. Now, we know, well, depending on your tradition, there's between 8 and 9 and 12 parts of the soul. It just depends on where in Northern Europe the traditions you follow come from. Nothing is set in stone. But here I'm specifically talking about the 8 parts of the soul, because the lick, or the physical body, is buried, and that's immediate. The other 8 parts are separated from that when you die or pass on. So by the time you get down to the underworld, to the mill, there's only 8 parts of the individual soul to be separated out. Once the individual soul parts are broken down, they are recombined with different soul parts to create the new person ready to be born into a new lick or physical body. But now there are several trials and tribulations. Just because Hole got you to the underworld does not mean that you are safe. You still have trials to pass through and overcome. They say some souls don't even make it to the well, but the ones that do and become new soul constructs, they've also got an ordeal to pass through before they can be put in a new body. Some of them don't even make it to a new body. They're taken out of the life, death, and rebirth cycle and are never seen again. So we know that the goddess Hole oversees the light half of the year in the Hartschultz from Walpurgisnacht to Allerwesel. So what that means is she sees it from May Day to Samhain. Okay, German words, specifically Pennsylvania German holidays that I'm pronouncing here, and I'm pronouncing poorly, in case you were wondering. Next one is the god Odin, or Wotan, or Wudan, is the German name. Wudan is the German name for Odin. Uh, Means war, wisdom, poetry, sovereignty, death, wind, inspiration, and again, the dead. In later Germanic mythology, Odin is the chief of the gods of the Aesir tribe and known as the Allfather. Side note, because I love side notes and getting off on a tangent, in the older German traditions, Tyr was the Allfather, and he's also a sky god. And then as the heathen traditions moved farther north and then out into Iceland, Odin took over that role. Mostly because by the time they got to Iceland, it was all rich people, kings and stuff, that were thrown out by Harald Fairhair. And so they needed people to, well, die for them in large numbers willingly. So it's said that they really fed into the going to Valhalla, and if you die in battle, and Odin is the Allfather. I haven't found a ton of information on that yet, but I'm still looking, so we'll see with that. But we do know for 100% that Tyr was the Allfather, and then as the traditions moved north, Odin just took his place. There, we don't know why, but things happen. Maybe Tyr got tired and he retired. All right. Odin is married to the goddess Frigg and several other people, um, who is said to know more than he, but does not share her wisdom. So again, we have it. It's we can see where it used to be a heavily patriarchal society. This is why they say that Frigg is smarter and wiser than Odin, but she doesn't share the information because he has to earn it. A lot of times we don't appreciate or can't completely comprehend things that are just handed to us. Part of gathering the knowledge and turning it into wisdom is the journey of gathering said knowledge. Odin's name can be translated as ecstasy or frenzy. He is the god of, or associated with, shamanism, war, wisdom, poetry, sovereignty, the things we mentioned at the top: death, wind, storms, inspiration, and the dead. He is also often known for bringing the dead back to life, to talk to them and to get answers and knowledge. This is done by summoning the Vard, um, and we'll get to that on another video where we talk about the parts of the soul, but this is how we do it. But the 9 parts of the soul, there's the follower, the Fylgja, and your Hummingja, and the Vard, and a bunch of others. And when these are broken apart and put in different bodies, this is how one person can be the reincarnated Cleopatra at a seance where they're talking to Cleopatra and yada, 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 because Cleopatra is just broken down into several different soul parts and then spread back out over many things, in case anybody's ever wondered about that. Odin wears a dark blue cloak that symbolizes his status as a death god. If anybody's ever seen anybody dying or having a really bad heart attack, they actually do turn blue. Dark blue, meaning seen as the color of a dead body, obtains after a few hours or days. His role as a death god tie into his role as a war god, in that Odin was seen as the giver of death, and then it was Hel or Hole, both goddesses of the underworld, which take the dead into the afterlife. So it's pretty straightforward. We can start to see how the different gods and goddesses are working together. Frigg and Odin, Odin and Hole, Odin and the goddess Hel. Odin is best known for his many adventures away from Asgard. Undertaking an initiation that has him hanging from Yggdrasil or the World Tree for 9 nights without food or water, and being stabbed with a spear to prove himself worthy to receive the knowledge of the runes. Now, believe it or not, this is actually a real thing, but I'm going to explain to you why you never want to do it. There is one group that I can find today that still practices something very similar to this, and it's called Kohogyo. It's a Shinto type tradition practiced by what they call the marathon monks. You can Google marathon monks, and there's actually a very nice video of this, and you can read about it and watch the videos. But it's a 9-day tradition where you're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to drink, and you're not allowed to sleep. Okay, and you're just sitting there meditating. Now, they don't stab people with spears, but they do have people with clubs that hit you if you try and fall asleep. So, very similar. And it's a 9-day ordeal, but only 1% survive. They have a very high death rate because of what the whole process. So, 1% of people survived this 9-day ordeal with people watching you and beating you with sticks. So I'm thinking I'm probably never going to try this, and I do not recommend anybody else try it. So, but Odin did this ordeal to gain the knowledge of the runes from the Norns out of Urd's well at the bottom of, or at the roots of the World Tree. Another time, he sacrifices one of his eyes for a drink from Mimir's well so that he can increase his knowledge again. Mimir's well, the well of knowledge. Mimir loosely translates as the one who remembers. He's also the one that had his head cut off because he didn't talk much. Another god verbalized his knowledge and wisdom, and for some reason, the Vanir found that offensive and they cut off his head. Mimir lives by a well called Mimersbrunner or Mimir's Well. Yeah, he is regarded as being very wise, and drinking from his well can bestow this knowledge onto others, but you can't just show up and, grab a cup of water or a bottle of water. There has to be a trade. There has to be, a sacrifice. Specifically, why Odin had to give up one of his eyes, and Heimdall gives up one of his ears so that he can hear, well, everything. They say grass growing. Odin is not a straightforward war god like Tyr. Odin is better known for using guile and any means necessary to achieve the goals that he wants. He has even been known to withdraw his favor from a clearly stronger army so that he might receive the better warriors for Valhalla. And this is where it gets kind of funny from my perspective. Uh, Freya um, always gets the first pick. So no matter what Odin does, Freya always gets the first pick of the best warriors, and Odin only gets the ones that she doesn't want. Again, looking back at that matriarchy kind of thing. In preparing himself for Ragnarok, Odin has little regard for values such as justice, fairness, or respect for law and convention. More important than being the smartest, Odin knows where to find beings with greater knowledge than himself and skill, so that he knows where to draw from. Some of Odin's names are a lot. There are over 170 of them, and they mean warrior, deceiver, evildoer, graybeard, instigator, allfather, mighty god, mighty poet, concealer, mighty one, hanged one, and on and on and on and on and on. But we're not going to get into those. That would just be me reading a list of names for the next 20 minutes. Shamanic journey work is noted in the Ynglinga saga when it says that Odin often travels to distant lands on his own errands or those of others while he appears to be asleep or dead. So he's doing the traditional shamanic journey work. He's going inside himself and sending off part of his soul construct, which we'll get to in another video, out to the different realms or the different worlds or the different homes, depending on how you translate them, to gather knowledge, to gather information, and then bring that back for himself or to share with others. Another point linked to the shamanism is Odin's four familiars that are accompanying him: two ravens and two wolves. Giri and Freaky. Odin gives all of his food on his table to his wolves, Giri and Freaky. For that, Odin requires no food, for mead is to him both meat and drink. We have no idea. Why? I don't know. It's maybe something that's lost. Maybe the mead is a kinning for something, but please don't just try drinking mead for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because your liver will hate you and die. Um, a darker meaning to their names, Giri and Freaky, is the hounds that roam the fields of battle greedily for the corpses of those who have fallen in battle. Okay. Hunan and Munin. Everybody knows Odin's ravens. Hunan means thought, Munin means memory, and they are the two ravens that Odin sends out to fly all over Midgard each day to bring back new knowledge to him. He's got tons of feelers going out every day bringing back knowledge on his behalf. At the end of the day, yeah, they return and share the knowledge. But then we have Sleipnir. Okay, Sleipnir is his eight-legged horse. Sleipnir means the sliding one, and he was given to Odin by his blood brother Loki. Yes, Loki is Odin's blood brother, not Thor's. Just saying. Sleipnir does not exist in the Germanic stories because, as mentioned previously, are the German stories. Mentioned previously because Loki does not exist, so Loki couldn't shapeshift into a female horse and get knocked up and give birth. He rides his horse Sleipnir into the underworld to talk to a dead vulva to see a future that is beyond his ability. Again, he knows where to go for help and to how to awaken the dead and to get answers that he needs. On an occasion, he will send Sleipnir to other gods so that they can travel to the underworld and return safely. So you need this sliding one to slide into the underworld and to the different death realms to gather information and come back safely, because living beings aren't supposed to be in the underworld, and usually once they get there, they're stuck. And you see this in a lot of different traditions all over Europe. Oh. And the next one of my favorite Gigyr or giantesses, is the goddess Skadi, the goddess of skiing and hunting. Skadi lives in the highest reaches of the mountains where the snow never melts. Sometimes I think that's awesome, especially when it's 98 degrees here where I live. She is an avid hunter, and her bow, snowshoes, and skis are her most often mentioned attributes. The giants are the devourers, which is what Jotun translates to. Jotun does not translate as giants; it translates as devourers. But here we are with the word giant. The giants are predominantly are forces of darkness, cold, and death. Scotty fits this pattern and seems to have had associations with winter. Now, we do know that male Jotuns are specific agents of chaos. 9 times out of 10, they lean heavily towards the chaotic chaos side of things. Now, the Gigyrs are the female Jotuns. Giants have a more balanced approach, and so they're more likely to help the Aesir, the Vanir, and even humans. But you don't want to show up assuming that's going to happen, because balance means they can go either way. Scotty's father, Thiazi, was killed for stealing the goddess Indun, and therefore the gods' apples of immortality. This caused a very negative feedback, and the gods forced Loki to get her back. It's a whole long story, one of my favorite. But what ends up is when her father, Scotty's father, ended up being slain by the gods, and Scotty shows up to take revenge. Now you've got all these war gods, you've got Thor, you've got all of these, really tough guys who all shit themselves when Scotty shows up, and they panic. And it ends up bringing out this whole drawn out thing where she ends up getting inured as her first husband. So again, looking at the matriarchy. We mentioned her several times before. Now we're talking about the goddess Freya, or Frauwa in German, Frouwa. She's the goddess of life, death, love, battles, fertility, and magic. All right. Freya's name means lady, as mentioned earlier. In the Norse, goddess of love, beauty, fertility, war, wealth, divination, and all that. She is not actually the goddess of love. That goes to a fact where the Christians tried to paint her kind of like in a very negative aspect, like women are only good for one thing kind of thing. And it ties to a story with how she got her necklace, but her father, Inyard, even stands up for her and says, that's bullshit when in the Locusina. So she's a goddess of magic, wealth, fertility, divination, and war. Don't mess with Freya. There's a very specific story where she, in the German tradition, where she beats Thor's ass, but we won't get into that in this one. So don't underestimate the ladies. Freya's home is unpronounceable to me, but it means many seats or benches, and rests on the field of Folkvanger, which means field of the hosts, people's field or warrior's field. And this is where the warriors that she claims go. We have no idea what they do there. We don't know if she trains them for a specific thing or they just hang out. Uh, we have no idea. Freya is always given the first choice of the honored dead on the battlefield. Folkvanger is the place where those warriors chosen by Freya go to the in the afterlife, while Odin will receive the others for Valhalla, as we've said before. Freya is the ruling goddess of the female ancestors, being known as the Disir and the leaders of the Valkyrie. So she's the head of both the Disir and the Valkyrie, and it's thought that she is also the queen of the Vanir, which is mentioned in another one of the sagas, which we'll also get to later. Trying not to make this video incredibly long, and I'm likely to run off on tons of tangents here. Uh, she's also seen as the Norse goddess of magic and divination. As mentioned earlier, she's got the falcon cloak that she lends to Loki to go help retrieve Indun. Freya is the one that taught Odin Scyther in return for knowledge of the runes. Um, Freya travels around in a chariot that is pulled by two black or gray cats. These are really big cats. If you've ever seen Scandinavian cats, these things are huge. She also has a large boar that she rides into battle. Uh, Hildeswine, sorry, it means battle swine, which she rides into combat, and so far evidently has never lost. Now she has a brother, a twin brother named Freyr. We will see this with an R at the end, okay, and I do pronounce his name as Freyr, but it's technically Frey, because the R is a romanticization. Ooh, I think I said that right. And is usually supposedly not pronounced, but I still call him Freyr. His name in German is Fro, F-R-O. He is a ruler of peace, fertility, rain, and sunshine. Freyr is the son of Inyor, just as Freya is the daughter. Much like the name of his sister Freya, Lady, the word Freyr means Lord, and is only a title rather than a proper name. Freyr's real name is Yngvi, and it's usually said Yngvi Freyr, or Freyr Lord, or Lord Freyr, however you want to translate it. Freyr's original Proto-Germanic name in German is Ingwas. So Ingvi or Ingwas, it depends on how you want to, which one you want to use. Uh, Freyr's residence is Alfheim, where the Light Elves live, and he is the ruler of the Light Elves. Freyr is the ruler of peace, fertility, rain, and sunshine. Prayers were often offered to Freyr for good futures, peace, and prosperity. A lot of times, farmers would make offerings to not just the land wights, but to Freyr, Freya, and Injord for good growing seasons. Freyr possesses two great treasures made by the dwarves. He has a battle boar to uh, Gullinbursti. Please don't quote me on how to pronounce Old Norse names. And the ship Skidleipnir. Freyr can ride his boar Gildenbursty, which means golden mane or golden bristles, or have it pull a chariot for him. Skidleipnir, which means assembled from pieces of thin wood, is his boat or ship, and always has a favorable wind and can be folded up and carried in his pocket. So that's kind of cool. Another god, the gatekeeper and the only gatekeeper, Heimdall, who protects Asgard. Heimdall is one of the Aesir gods and the ever vigilant guardian or watchman of Asgard. He is the god who possesses the resounding horn Gjallarhorn and is the son of 9 mothers, which is an interesting story if you really dig into what's going on there. Heimdall is called the Shining God, and he wears white armor. He can see 100 leagues and can hear grass growing in the meadows and wool growing on sheep. His dwelling is called Himinbjorg Skycliffs, which sits at the top of Bifrost, or Bifrost, depending on how you pronounce it. Here he watches and listens, holding at the ready his horn Gjallarhorn, which means resounding horn. Gjallarhorn can be heard throughout all 9 worlds, or homes, or realms, depending on how you translate it. It is believed that he would sound the horn to summon the gods when their enemies drew near at Ragnarok. When that time came, Heimdall and his enemy Loki are said to slay each other in battle. So, just a couple more. Let's kind of knock through these here, push through them, knock them out. Tyr, or Ziu in German, um, as we've mentioned before, was the uh, was the All Father, and then things changed. So we also, let's double back. I'm going to throw one more thing in there to your mental exercise of what would Ragnarok look like without Loki and Fenrir. Without a Fenrir, Tyr doesn't lose a hand. So Tyr is seen as the sky god in early German people and was highly regarded by them. He's the god of war and is also associated with law, justice, honor, and oaths. In Icelandic sources, he is portrayed as the one-handed god. In Germany, there is no Loki, as we said, so Tyr has two hands. In German lore, his three sons create humans. So yes, there's in the German, it's not Odin and his two brothers; it's Tyr and his two sons, and they have different names that create humans. So it's a slightly different story, but we all still end up in the same place. Now we're looking at the Vanir god, the father of Freyr and Freya, Injord, the god of wind and of the sea. Sorry, I just can't talk today. Injord, god of the wind and the seas, the wealth from the sea, fishing and seaweed and all of that, and fertility. Injord is one of the Vanir tribe of deities. He lives in a home, Nautane, it means ship enclosure. As with the other Vanir, Inuard is a fertility god capable of providing good fortune in the form of safe sea voyages, wealth, and land. He was also prayed to for appropriate amount of wind to help fill the sails to make a journey safe and quick. He is known as the god of wind and of the seas, of wealth and fertility. His aid is invoked in seafaring, wind, fishing, crop fertility, and he was considered a god of prosperity. Because if you had healthy crops and cattle, you had a lot of money back then. Ziza, the goddess Ziza, is Tyr's wife. Um, Specifically a German goddess, the main goddess of Augsburg in southern Germany. So it's Ziu and Ziza. She represents the southern pole star, which we can't see anymore from where we are. Ziza is known as the remover of obstacles. So if you have problems and you need a lot of help, you would pray to the goddess Ziza to remove those obstacles, or the undoer of knots. Her symbol is the pinecone, protector of the young, as in the seeds are protected in the pinecone until it opens and the seeds fall out. In modern heathen spiritual practices, she is even said to be able to undo or unwrite one's orlog if the person's cause is just. We'll get to what orlog and weird mean in another video. The goddess sees the symbol as the pine cone and is related to her being the protector of Augsburg. The pine cone protects the seeds, as we've talked about, and protects the city. The pine cone is the symbol of protection and regeneration. Ziza is a healer goddess, and during a plague came into town to help heal the people and told them how to care for others and not get sick themselves while they were helping to heal people. She stated that to be healthy, we must wash our hands, crazy knowledge, and our clothes. Bathe daily, get plenty of sunshine, as we've learned now that ultraviolet light helps kill some kinds of bacteria and viruses, and eat a healthy diet. Believe it or not, this was seen as radical advice at the time. Because Christianity had taken over and people weren't bathing as much, they weren't washing their clothes, and so that's one of the big reasons disease really spread along with killing cats, which allowed rodents to run crazy. So she has to come back in and give what we consider everyday knowledge today that was stomped on and eradicated by certain other religious organizations. Thor. All right, we finally made it down to Thor, or Dunar, as he's pronounced in German, the thunder god, the god of the everyday person, as he was known. He is actually a protector of Earth and of humans. He's one of the gods that we are by lore directly related to. We come from the Earth. He comes from the Earth, and so technically we're brothers and sisters, or half brothers and sisters, however you want to look at it. Thor is known as the strongest of the Aesir and the giant killer among them. He is the son of Odin and Jord or Nerthus, depending on which one are the names. Jord or Nerthus just means Mother Earth. Thor has three children, two sons and a daughter. His son Modi, it means angry, and Mangi, which means strong. His daughter Third means powerful. His wife is the goddess Sif, and because of his marriage to her, he is also the stepfather of the god Uller, which is the god of skis and hunting and gaming or games. Thor lives with his wife at Thordenheim Power Home. The hall is named Blinkskfnir. Again, don't quote me on Old Norse words. The one striking lightning with rays of light. Thor owns a strength enhancing belt and iron gauntlets that allows him to direct lightning. Okay. So it is said that he can't lift Mjolnir or his hammer without the strength enhancing belt, and he can't safely direct lightning without the metal gauntlets on when he uses the hammer in that way. He also has a staff, Grindelwald, given to him by the giantess Gerd. It is believed that these tools increase his strength even more. The Pennsylvania German story of Thor and the Budsman. Um, a Budsman is kind of like a a scarecrow that's brought to life through certain rituals, and then it helps keep your land fertile during the growing season. He helps protect the plants as they're growing and protects them from frost. It is said that Thor comes down at the beginning of the growing season and trains all of these budsmen how to fight, and they become his army to fight off the frost giants in May and April. So, just a quick down and dirty version of that. Um, Gefan. She is the goddess of fertility and protection goddess, the giving one. This is another story that points to this how smart the women are in the Aesir tradition. She's very intelligent and crafty. Odin sent Gefan to look for land in Sweden. So she comes across the Swedish king Gylfi, and he promises that she can have all the land she can plow in a single day, thinking, that it's just a woman and he's got this and he's going to come out on top. Being much smarter than the king, she turns her four sons into large, powerful bulls. Gefan ties them to the front of a huge plow and sets out plowing a huge section of land off from Sweden. Today, this land is known as Zealand, so she creates a whole island. Um, and again, teaching the king not to underestimate women. She's married to Odin's son, Skjord, and they live together in Ligier. I'm sorry, never found a definition for those or any clue on how to pronounce them correctly. Balder, the Shining One, Odin and Frigg's son. Balder is the second son of Odin, and his mother is the goddess Frigg. Balder is said to be the best of the gods, and everyone praises him for being the best. And there's a favorite pastime that ends up getting him in big trouble. He's said to be the wisest of the Aesir, the most eloquent, and the friendliest. Frigg sets out about demanding that everything animate and inanimate swears an oath to her to never hurt Balder. She receives the promises from everything except mistletoe, the plant, because she thinks that it's too young to be an issue. Loki hears about the mistletoe, and he will use this mistletoe to his advantage, which ends up killing Balder. Balder is married to the goddess Nanna, Nepris' daughter, and their son is the god Forsete. Balder and Nana live in Balder's home, Breidblaknik. He is the owner of the ship Hringenhorny, a ship with a ring on the stem. Again, I deeply apologize for my inability to speak any language. I used to try and hear me speak Spanish. Or for God's sakes, I lived in Germany for 2 years and I still can't pronounce words. He is the Balder is the owner of the ship that we talked about, and then Balder is almost invincible, and the other gods often spend their days hitting him with swords and throwing rocks and spears at him, and they just bounce off because of the promises Frigg gathered from all animate and inanimate objects. They all marvel at his ability to suspend scold or obligation. Scold simply means obligation. There is no concept of future, as in past, present, and future. In the Northern European traditions, it's an obligation. Like if you cut your finger, you're obligated to bleed, kind of thing. So when he suspends scold, he's suspending the obligation of being hurt when somebody hits him with a sword or a rock, and so on. This means that due to his mother's magical abilities, his obligation to be injured from attacks is non existent. Excuse me. Veskepichi. I know some of you out there just said bless you, but she is the German goddess of healing. She would be the equivalent of the goddess Air in the Scandinavian and Icelandic traditions. Veskepichi is known as the white haired lady and is seen as a very great healer. She is seen as the personification of Megan or life force, like Qi in Chinese arts. Veskepichi is thought to live in the Osterblätter, a realm on the world tree specific to magic. The Germans have a much greater understanding of the world tree and how it functions. The lore is much broader and deeper, and we'll get to that in a video much later, maybe this year, maybe the beginning of next year. Um, the place she lives, known as the Place of Magic, is believed by the German people that she has taken human form several times throughout history to help humans. She takes human form and comes here and teaches herbal healing and the different types of healing modalities that the Germans use, which they still have 4 or 5 different traditional effective healing traditions. Excuse me. The best known incarnation is the renowned Seeress Veleda, back in the time when Rome was running around southern Germany. Veleda, it became a buzzword, kind of like vulva, so it's kind of like a very similar thing. The Veleda is the priestess and prophetess of the Brakturi. It's a German tribe. In German folklore, she is seen as the weird elf who protects the forest. The golden owl and the color white is associated with the healing goddess Veskepichi. I know I tried to get off on a tangent there with Veleda, but the last part, her associations as the golden owl and the color white. Okay, we talked about Loki. We've mentioned it before. Loki is a Jotun. Um, he is not a god, but a Jotun. A lot of people confuse him with being a god. His mother is a Jotun named Laufey. Laufey is not a man. Laufey is his mother. This is why in the poetry he is known as Loki Laufeyson. Loki's father is the Jotun Farbutin. It means cruel striker. Loki has many children. The best known are with the Gigir Angraboda, which means angry, bounding. And his children are Hel, the goddess of the underworld, Jormungandr, the world serpent, and Fenrir, the big wolf. Loki has one other child with his wife Singi, which means friend of victory, and his name is Nari, which means corpse. In the story Loki finally slips up and accidentally confesses to being the one who masterminded the killing of Balder. And for this crime, the gods take um, the entrails from his son Nari and restrain Loki by tying him down to 3 rocks in a great cave. I always thought that was kind of rude and odd uh, to kill his innocent son for this, but I don't know. I wasn't there and I don't know. A serpent is fixed above his head that will drip toxic venom onto his face every day. His wife Singi sits with him using a bowl to catch the venom to keep it from falling on Loki. When the bowl is full, she must go outside to empty the bowl. This is when the venom drips on Loki's head, causing him great pain. This pain causes him to convulse in pain, and it is believed that it is during these times that earthquakes happen in Iceland and other places in Northern Europe. What people usually miss, though, is he's a hearth god. I guess that's where he gets the spicy hot-headedness from. I don't know. Ivichi or Holler is a German god of death, skiing, and hunting. Ivichi is thought to be the husband of the goddess Hole. He is known as the god of death and scrapple. Scrapple is a very specific German type of food. There's an actual holiday where you make scrapple, and it is very good. I don't know if I'll ever share that recipe, but you can look it up online, Scrapple. It's a very good meal, easy to make, and it tastes very good. You put maple syrup on it. He is known to be the god of skiing, hunting, and the bounty from fishing and hunting. Um, Ivichi is best known in America because he saved one of the Pennsylvania German colonies from starvation by helping them because they remembered the old pagan ways. And so he showed up and helped them, kept them from starving, and reintroduced them to the fertility of the land and the whole 9 yards. He's thought to roam the Blue Mountain Range. At the end of Samhain, he kills the plants and takes their spirits so that the frost giants cannot remove them from the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. So even the plants have souls, and they still go through a specific place to the southern leaves where is their afterlife. And you work with the plant spirits in the southern leaves to bring that energy back to animate your budsman or your zombie scarecrow in early spring. It's a whole shamanic thing. Vici is associated with the color burnt orange. The animal associations are rabbits, hares, deers, trout, turkey buzzards, and plague horses. I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure what plague horses are, but they're associated with them. The plants associated with them are hay or straw. This plant is used for specific offerings to Ivici. And with that, we come to an end. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will get on a lot more. If you want, please let me know how the editing goes with this, because I've got a lot of editing to do. So I hope this all works out for everybody, and I hope you find the information very useful. Thank you for watching our video.